Hey Floss Tube, welcome back. This is my 113th or 114th Floss Tube video, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I'm excited to share with you what I've been working on. But first of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. It's about 3 weeks since my last video, and I have a couple of things to show you. I'm really excited to show you. Everything is going well. Let's see, we're just getting ready for Thanksgiving, looking forward to Thanksgiving next week. So, and the weather is just perfect right now. At work, we had a big conference and had people from all over the world come, and we had a big summit. We had people who were here from back east in the United States, up north, and some who were also from Norway who were here. And they thought the weather was really, really good. It feels a little bit cold to me, but that's the way it is. It really is really nice. 70s during the day, it's just perfect. So it's a little bit cold in the mornings, but we like cold in the mornings. Before we get started, a couple of things. First of all, last time I announced a giveaway, and I'm ready to announce the winners of that giveaway. So if you remember, I am giving away 2 Lavender and Lace charts. One is Scent of the Forest, and the other is Morning Song. And we'll talk about, I drew names this morning, and so I'm excited to share with you who won. Okay, the first winner is the winner of Santa the Forest, and the person who won that is Deborah Goethe. Goethe as in Faust. I don't know if, Deborah, if that's exactly how you pronounce your name. I just know that that's an approximation of how it would be pronounced in German. So Deborah, congratulations on winning Santa of the Forest. And then Morning Song was won by Tammy Miner. So Tammy, congratulations. If both of you will either send me an email, my email address is in the comments below, or you can also DM me on Instagram. Send me your address, and I will make sure to get these charts sent out to you. I hope that you really enjoy them and that you are able to stitch with them. So once again, thank you to our winners, and thank you once again to my viewer who donated those charts. That's really appreciated. Another thing, just an update on the status of my cross-stitch journal app. First of all, I want to thank everybody who has downloaded and unlocked the app. I really appreciate it. I have had comments about it, suggestions, and things to improve. Since my initial release, I have released a couple of bug fixes. One bug that was found almost immediately it's not really a bug. I just wasn't thinking about dates exactly correctly, and so I did a quick fix to fix that. And then I had to do another quick release because I didn't think about all the implications of fixing that bug. And I had more things to fix. And then I also have released another release that added some features that were requested. Let's see, I'll talk about a little bit about those features. The first feature was that somebody requested that I make it so that instead of entering the width and the height of a chart, that you could enter the total number of stitches on that chart. And that sounded like a good idea. I guess there are some charts out there that they give you the width and height, but they also tell you the total number of stitches. And maybe some of the apps that people use to track their stitching or to mark their charts off also tell you the total number of stitches, and so maybe that is easier for you to deal with than having to count empty stitches. So I added that capability. If you go into editing a project, there is now a toggle that will let you toggle back and forth between entering total number of stitches and width and height. Another suggestion is from one of my most avid spreadsheet users, I guess. She has asked me a lot about my spreadsheet, and she has been asking me a lot about my app and has given me lots of suggestions. Because of her input, I have made it so that when you go to the charts page and you show a chart, you can also generate a text report showing all of the numbers that are used to generate that chart. So you can see a chart that basically gives you all of the numbers. Also, in addition to summarizing days over a period of time, you can now summarize stitches and time stitched as well. So there are a few more graphs available, and of course now you can also generate a text report so that you can see the actual numbers rather than clicking on the number on the individual bars. She said she likes that because that helps her keep track of the goals that she sets, and she can see easily if she's met those goals or not. Let me think. I had some crash reports, and I finally figured out what was causing the crash. So if you have been seeing the app crash when you are displaying the graph that shows your starts and finishes over time, I think there was a bug there that was causing the app to crash. I fixed that bug. So that the app should be a little bit more stable. If you have found that bug and it has really irritated you, try it out again. It should be okay now. Let me think. Is there anything else? There's a few more minor bug fixes, terminology changes. I am in the process of releasing a new release. My avid spreadsheet user also noticed something. It's not really a bug. If you when you enter this number of stitches in the log, if you put in a space, that space isn't visible, but that space prevents the number of stitches that are in that log. That prevents them from being used in all of the statistics, and in the charts and all the statistics. I have made a fix. I have made it now, and this was poor design on my part, I think. I have made it now so that it used to be that you could enter stitches or a stitching method. I have now made it so that you can toggle. You can set a toggle and determine whether or not you want to enter the number of stitches or a method. And when you enter the number of stitches, you can only enter numbers. You can't enter spaces or any other alphabetical character. And so that'll make that a little bit more predictable. So you don't have to worry about whether or not you've entered in a space. So that release, that you will probably see that release by the time this video is uploaded or soon thereafter. I've got the fix in. It just has to go through Apple's approval process. I need to submit it, and it usually takes a day before Apple actually approves the app, and then it will show up on the App Store. I've also had people who can't upgrade to iOS 16. I specifically developed for iOS 16 because it is with that version that released the library that I use. The library that I use to create the charts requires iOS 16. So that is what drove me to only support iOS 16. And because of that, there are a couple of other things that I am doing that are required by iOS 16. And that is why the app requires iOS 16. I guess I could release a version of the app that doesn't require iOS 16. It would probably be a light version that doesn't have charts. It would have the reports, but it wouldn't have the charts. I don't know how much of a demand there is for that. I know that I didn't think that there would be anybody who would still be on a device that was so old that it wasn't supported by iOS 16, but evidently there are people. I mean, the iOS 16 is supported by devices that are like 5 years old. So, but yeah, so if you really would like to see a version of the app on iOS 15 so that you can track, and then eventually, when you eventually get a device that supports iOS 16, you would be able to load the new version of the current version of the app, and you would have all of your data and be able to generate charts. If that is something that interests you, let me know in the comments. If there's enough demand for that, I could also do that. It would be a light version, and it wouldn't. It probably wouldn't be updated that much. It would be just something to give out the current version of my app just as a stopgap until you can get to iOS 16. Oh, yes. A couple of other things about my app. I remembered a couple of other things I was going to say. I have had requests for features that I have thought about doing that I haven't implemented yet. They are features that will require a little bit more development on my app. So they will not be, if I put them in, they will not be immediately available. It's going to be a little while I do some development to implement those features. I have also had requests to add fields about the project, about different things with regards to the projects, things like what needle you are using, or another one was whether or not you're stitching full cross or stitching tent stitch. And I have not specifically put those fields into the app for a couple of reasons. One of the things that I felt like I needed to do was I needed to make it so that when you edit a project, most of the fields that you have to enter in are visible on the screen. When I first started, I had that you could enter everything in all at once, and you had to scroll and scroll and scroll to fill in all the tables. And I didn't like that. I like having everything that you need to enter be visible. I haven't been always successful in being able to fit everything onto the screen that way. But if you need to scroll, you only need to scroll a little bit. Adding a whole bunch of fields will make it so that you have to do more scrolling in order to enter in all of the data. Also, I want to make this app accessible to everybody, and I think that adding a whole bunch of fields that people may or may not care about would add to a little bit of complexity. However, I have made it so that there is a notes field in the edit project, and that notes field can be used to enter in whatever data you want to track. You can enter whatever you want into that notes field. The editor is very sparse. It's not really fancy, but you can enter text into that. You can enter whatever you want. And you could just enter in why you're stitching the project. I mean, whatever you want. And so that is available to you for those things that you specifically want to track for each project, or for whatever you want to remember about the project. Just to be consistent, there is also a notes field available for you to enter in data for a log. So you can enter in whatever you want about what you did when you were stitching that log, or whatever. I mean, it's up to you. I decided that it would be better to give you those options rather than enter in a whole bunch of different fields that would people may or may not want. I want to keep it down to what everybody wants, and then what I think everybody would want to be able to enter for, keep track of, and then give you the option to do whatever you want. So that is the other design decision that I have made. Yeah. So anyway, there is that also. Yeah, I think those are the major updates. So once again, if you haven't checked it out, feel free to check it out. It is Cross Stitch Journal on the App Store. Also, I have had a lot of requests for an Android version of the app. I've had a lot more than I kind of expected. So I hear you. I am starting to investigate the possibility of doing an Android app, and that's about all I'm going to say about that right now. I don't know how long it's going to take. It might take less time than it did for the iOS app, just because I've already made all of my design decisions, but I really don't know. So maybe it, right? And the other thing is it's assuming I can figure out how to do everything that I'm doing on iOS. So I'm investigating it. I may or may not release an Android app, but I hear you, and I hear the demand for Android as well as iOS. It's a little bit more work on my part, because then I have to start maintaining two code bases, which I don't like doing, but I will do that I have felt like there is enough demand to justify my doing that. So who knows? Maybe in a few months, maybe you'll see it. And that's all the update I'm going to give about it right now. Yeah. Okay, so that's about it. Let's talk about my stitching. Okay. So the last time I left you, I told you I was going to finish Red House Sampler, that I was going to start it that day, and I was going to stitch it until it was finished. So I finished it. So just so you can see how much stitching I did, I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it while I'm getting this ready. This is a design by Brenda Keys of the Sampler Company. Brenda has found my Instagram account, which is always kind of fun. She's commented on a couple of my posts, and she saw my finish, so that is really kind of gratifying. I stitched it on 40 count platinum, which is a fabric by Weeks Dye Works, and it's using the Zweigart base with the called for DMC. Okay, so this is my finished piece. So yeah, here it is. It's all finished, and it feels like a great accomplishment to have it finished. My wife was really excited to see that I was going to finish it also. Okay, so the real moment of truth came right here when I stitched and the border met up. That I didn't really have any worries about it not meeting up, just because this border is really regular and it's really easy to tell if you're off. Really easy. I mean, I think it would be very difficult to stitch this border and not have it meet up, but it's always a bit of a relief to actually have that happen. And then I basically stitched this lower corner, filled in the border, and stitched what was left in here. So this is my finished piece. I had somebody ask me about the red in the house. Once again, I am using the called for red. It's 321, which is really bright, but the fact that there's so much tan in there really calms that red down. I'm really quite amazed by the effect. You can see this red up here is the same red as in the house, and they look like two different colors. And that's just because of the way the colors interplay with each other. So yeah, I'll give you a little bit closer look. There's the top and the bottom. Yeah. Right, so this is the Red House Sampler by Brenda Keys of the Sampler Company. And it has been a really fun piece. It's not a reproduction sampler, it's her own design, but it's kind of looks like an old-time sampler. And I think what really attracts me to this piece is the border. I really love the border. And of course the house. Yes. Okay. Just final statistics about my stitching. I started the Red House Sampler on January 1st, 2020. Finished it on November 7th, 2022. The number of hours that I stitched, I didn't keep track of my time throughout the whole thing, so that number is really meaningless for this project. I've only started keeping track of the amount of time I stitched on a project since I've started working on my app, and so that's a meaningless number. But that was 66 days of stitching, and it was all cross stitching. There's a little bit of back stitch in that design, but it was small enough that it counted as, I didn't have a separate back stitch day, I guess you say. So yeah, 66 days, which is just over 2 months worth of stitching on it. And the top goes really fast, and then you get down to the bottom and you hit the house, and the house slows you down. I'll show you that. And if I pull up my charts and show you my pace, you can see where I started stitching on the house because the pace drops down. And then when I finished the house, it came back up again. So you can see where I was actually stitching the house based on this graph. So yeah, so that's all my statistics on this. Okay. The other thing I have to show you, it took me a little bit more than a week to finish Red House Sampler, and that kind of messed up my rotation schedule a little bit, and I ended up not having a couple of days when I wasn't able to stitch, and then I started working on my focus piece, and I ended up stitching my focus piece for more than a week just because if I had rotated it back out, I would have only worked on it 2 days, and that didn't seem like that was worth doing. So that's why I only have 2 projects to share with you, even though it's been 3 weeks. And of course, you've been following me. You know my focus piece is Queen Anne's Lace. This is a design by Marilyn Levitt Emblem of Lavender and Lace. And it's a picture of a lady in a fancy yellow dress. And I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I think it's, I mean, I'm in just the real exciting part of this design. So it looks like, it probably will look like it's changed quite a bit. I'm stitching on 32 count Dirty Belfast Linen, which is the called for fabric, using the called for DMC, stitching 2 strands over 2 fabric threads. Yeah. And yeah, so I've got, well, I'll show you what it looks like now, and then we'll talk about it. So it's looking like, I mean, she's almost finished. Really, I only have background to stitch. There's a little bit more of her hair that'll be almost completely finished in the next diagonal. But for all practical and purposes, she's finished, and all I have left to do is stitch background. So yeah. I'm really starting to feel that, though. There is a lot of confetti in the background. And it used to be that I'd go through the confetti and that I'd hit her dress, and then the dress was really easy. And so, but now it's just all confetti all the time. So I'm starting to feel that a little bit. So, yeah. But I will say this, when your diagonals start getting smaller, at first it doesn't feel like anything's changing. They still feel really long. My diagonals are starting to feel shorter. I stitched more than a diagonal this time, which I haven't done. I haven't been able to stitch more than a diagonal for a very long time. So the diagonals are starting to feel like they're getting shorter. I'm hoping that the fact that they're getting shorter will mitigate all of the confetti that I have to stitch. So, but I'll give you a little bit closer look. Yeah, she's really starting to come into focus, I think. Oh, there's a little bit of her sleeve left also. So we've got her hair and we've got a little bit of sleeve left to stitch, and then it will just be all background. Seeing more of this brick wall that's behind her over here. So yeah, I'm really happy with her. Because I stitched on her more than a week, though, I'm ready to give her a little bit of a rest. About a week. She can go take a rest for about a week before she comes back out again. So yeah, that's Queen Anne's lace. And just for, I won't read you all the statistics, but I will tell you that my app says that I have 28 days left of stitching. That is 8,764 stitches left to stitch, and it says it's going to take me about 28 days. I think 28 is on the high side, but not by much. I guess the next week that I stitch on her, I'll have a better feel for that. But I think I'm getting to the point where she's really close to being finished. Yeah, she's not going to be finished by the end of the year, I don't think. Yeah, it would be cool to finish her by the end of the year, but I don't think that she's going to be finished. She'll probably be my first finish of 2023. So I'll just show you my charts. I'll just show you my start-finish chart just to see. I'm back up to having more than one finish than start for the year, which is good. That means my whip count is coming down a little bit. And yeah, so we're right there kind of where I expected to be at the end of the year. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to finishing her in the next couple of months. So let's talk about plans. That's all I have to share with you. That seems really fast. But let's talk about plans. I am working through the rest of my rotation. I have 2 or 3 projects that I haven't worked on in a long time, and I'm going to work through those projects before I go back up to the top of my rotation again. So one of those projects is the one that I am going to stitch this week. And this will probably be my next focus piece, just because right now this is my second oldest whip. This is Ann Wilkinson 1834 by Cross Stitch Antiques. I've been a little bit ambivalent about this design, but I've decided that I want to finish it just to get it off my conscience. So this is what I'm going to work on this week and see how much I can get done. And when Queen Anne's Lace is finished, I am going to stitch. This will become my focus piece, just because I think it's another quick finish, which will be good. So this is what it looks like right now. This is basically a band sampler. There are 5 bands, and I'm about halfway through the second band. So I will probably finish this band, I think. I don't know if I'll be able to get down into here or not. There's a lot of stitching in this band. Like, I have been kind of ambivalent about this design, and the main reason is the colors. I don't really like the colors. And yes, I could do a color conversion, but I just don't. I don't know what I would do. So, but like I say, I want to finish her. I really like the bands. It was this band here, and there's another band like it down here that I really liked. So that's kind of what made me want to stitch it. But yeah, so I want to get her finished. I've actually put her in timeout a couple of times and skipped her over in the rotation. So she isn't as far along as she could be. But I want to finish her. I've decided I'm going to finish her. So we'll see how far I get with this band coming across here. We'll spend a week working on her. Yeah, and then of course the week after we'll be back to Queen Anne's Lace. We'll see how much more I can finish with that. Okay, so that's all I have to share with you. Thank you for spending time with me. As always, if you want to follow my daily progress, see how far along I get with Ann Wilkinson, you can follow me on Instagram. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. That reminds me, I was going to tell you why this is either 113 or 114. I filmed a Stitch With Me video and got it all edited, and I haven't released it yet. Just because I'm trying to decide how much you can handle all of the geeky app talk. Because I've had the app on my mind, and I talk a lot about that and about some of the decisions I've made. If you haven't, feel free to subscribe to my channel. That way you will be notified when I post new videos. And feel free to comment below. Tell me what you like, even what you don't like about my app, and I will see what I can do to. I'm always looking for things that I can do to improve the app. That's for sure. As always, I will also be glad to answer any questions you have for me. I'd be glad to do that as well. Feel free to like this video if you haven't. That is also a great help to me. I think that is about it. I hope that you have a great couple of weeks, and if you are in the U.S., I hope that you have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.